Hello and welcome back to the Block Party, your source for everything music and pop culture. I'm your host, Alana Hayes, and this is my guest for this week.
Hi, I'm Kayla Sydnor.
And the block is hot this week. Earlier this week, it has been released that the final season of Pose airs in May. Oh my gosh, that's depressing to even read.
Yes.
So since I am such a big fan of this show, and this show means so much to me, and it helped shape me as a person, I decided to dedicate this entire show to Pose. So starting off, we're going to talk about our favorite moments from Pose. For me, one of my favorite moments was when Damon spilled all the tea at the family dinner when he told everybody Ricky had AIDS and that he was sleeping with Pray Tell. And can I just say, Electra and Lulu's reaction, that's what did it for me. Because Damon said, "You sure it's not because you're sleeping with them?" Electra said, "Ooh." Like, that is iconic. That's my favorite meme. And then Lulu said, "This house is scandalous." I want that to this day. To this day.
Yes, they did. That was a lot to unpack, especially because Damon was so fed up because, of course, with the whole thing with Angel and like her cocaine and then Poppy, of course. Like, he was just so mad. And he was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna spill everything."
Yes. He was like, "Y'all ain't gonna throw me under the bus. I know everybody's business, so let's air it out. We all got dirty laundry. Let's air it out.
Or let's get it all on the table." Well, my favorite scene from the show was that when they went to the church to protest and they just decided to disrupt the peace, and it was very powerful because they were trying to bring light to the AIDS epidemic because there was so much, how do I put this? There was just so much information that was misconstrued about it, so they were just trying to bring light to it. So what better way to do it than in the church?
Yeah, and then I love how this show loves to tackle like really big issues like AIDS, and then like how mistreatment of the LGBTQ community in the ballroom. Like,
right.
I just love that this show can be so fun, but it also tackles a lot of like serious issues.
Right, especially like with racism and everything. Like that was definitely in like deep in the show as well.
Yeah, especially colorism too, especially with Candy.
Oh right, yes, for sure.
Yes. And I just always thought that was so weird because we would always see colorism with Candy, but we would never see it with Electra.
Yeah.
And I think it was more because Electra could pass as a real woman, so to speak, versus for some reason they don't think Candy could. But I personally think Candy could pass as a real woman. I think she's gorgeous.
Right.
And she kind of reminds me of my aunt. That's why I really think she could pass, because she reminds me of one of my aunts. So I don't know. I saw a lot of myself in Candy's character, and I don't know. She seems like a real woman to me. So I just kind of never got the colorism aspect when it only affected just one of their dark skinned characters when they have other ones as well.
Right. And Candy was an interesting character, I will say.
Candy's hammer is iconic, and Candy with the hammer will always be one of my favorite moments, especially when she pulled it out on Electra and she said it's hammer time. I was like, "Ma'am."
Like, okay.
Whoa. And then Electra pulled the switchblade out of bra. I was like, "Oh, like, wow.
Gotcha."
Look, this escalated quickly.
Man, because they, especially in the ballroom, it was just a whole lot of going on for real.
Right. I mean, but it's just so hard to grasp some of it. Like,
right.
Where did she keep the hammer? There is no way she kept that hammer in her purse. That was a big hammer.
I never thought about that either. You're absolutely right.
I was like, did she just have it stored behind the bar for every for every ball, or like, because I don't even think that, because I think she pulled it out in public once. So I was like, how did she shove this hammer into her purse?
Right, because and she's too small to like try and carry it around like in her pocket or something like that.
Yeah, because she was very, very tiny. So there's no way she just like kept it strapped to her leg or something. Like she's the Tomb Raider. Like
not the Tomb Raider.
Yes. Like how Lara Croft has like her weapons like strapped to her thigh. I don't think Candy could really do that with a hammer, just because it was show, but I've been wrong. So on to our next favorite thing. What is your favorite episode?
My favorite episode was definitely Blow, where Damon, Ricky, and Lulu, they put that big condom over Frederica's house. And she deserved it because she was such a jerk during the entire show. And she was so two-faced, especially with that. They did, what was it? They did
the benefit concert.
Yes, they did that. Then she had the nerve to try and shut down Blanca's nail shop behind her back and played like, "Oh, I'm so nice." Like, no, you're not.
Yeah, and then she sung that little weak song at the tribute. That's why you can't really sing. That's why you was flat the whole time.
Exactly.
Let's talk about it. Let the musical theater and me come out. You were flat the whole time.
Nah, for real. Tragic.
Yes. Like, I don't know. Frederica, she made me so upset that entire season because she was actually like genuinely nice to Blanca at first, and then that dude told her that Blanca was trans.
Right, and then her whole demeanor like just changed. It was like, okay, just because like
it was like you already knew her as a person, so why does the fact that she's trans change anything? Like, that makes no sense.
Right. Plus, she's giving you money out of her pocket to run the place too, because that was like her main thing. Like, she was focused on money anyway, so it's like she's giving you money to do.
And then you're losing money because you just shut her business down and like blocked it. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, that's just a bad business move. I get there was a whole stigma around the LGBTQ plus community at that point, but at the same time, if you were a smart businesswoman, you would have just let it go.
Exactly, and just let her run her shop. If you were that really pressed about, you could have found somebody else and said, "Hey, somebody's doing a higher bid than you. Like, what can you bring to the table?"
Yes. So for me, I believe my favorite episode is one of the most like gripping episodes they had, and it was the episode where Candy died. So I always loved Candy, as you can tell from how I talked about her earlier. So Candy was always just such a strong character. She had like such a hard exterior, and I hate that it took for her to like die in such a tragic way that they showed her softer side. But when I tell you, I cried really, really big girl tears to that episode, especially when she talked to her parents, especially her dad.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. And I just thought it's just kind of sweet how her dad was more accepting of her versus her mom not being as accepting, and like they hadn't spoken in a while, so them speaking at her funeral as she's like a ghost, that also kind of hit me a little bit because I was just like, wow, you really just never know. And I was like, how can you just not love your child?
Right, and then not even like appreciate her until she dies. Like, especially the part where her dad was talking about how he got that dollhouse for her when she was little. Right, like that really like that cut me deep.
Yeah, and then I really love that they dedicated like an entire category in the ballroom just to Candy.
Right,
Candy's sweet refrain. I was like, that is golden, and I felt even worse because it was like Pray Tell also started to like appreciate her more once she died. And I think the real reason they didn't get along much when like she was alive is because they are so much alike.
Right, because Pray Tell even mentioned like, well, I only really did it to protect you in a way. It was kind of like, I see you, like you said, like she saw a part of himself in her, so he just wanted to protect her. But the way that he went about it probably wasn't the best method, but it was nice to know that at the end of the day, even though they went back and forth all the dang on time, he still cared about her.
It's almost like a brother and sister type of relationship. Like when you just really look back at it, because they were just so similar. And I think the biggest thing was because Pray Tell was like in such a high position, he was also kind of like jealous of her because she was just open and loud and proud about who she was. Like there was one episode where he was like behind the podium and he had like a feather boa. He would never wear that in public. But Candy, on the other hand, she would wear it in public and she did not care what anybody had to say about her. And I just admire that so much about her character.
Right, because she's unapologetically herself, and like granted, like yes, she did have her hardships, like yes, she had things that she went through, but at the end of the day, she still stayed true to herself.
Yeah, and I think it's also a little touching how like she had left from a home where her mother like didn't really like care for her, and then she went into Electra's house, and Electra was kind of the same way, but Electra still cared. So I think it's kind of symbolic in a way. Because that also kind of created her really kind of tough exterior.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, well, even my chosen mother is kind of, an ass to me.
Pretty much.
So it's like nobody's gonna really have my back but me and Lulu. Because let's just that was the friendship I lived for. Her and Lulu.
They were goals.
They were iconic. Can we just talk about they came out with like matching red suits this one time, and that was literally one of my favorite looks for them because oh my gosh, like, and then she had a little hat, like that hat. Oh my gosh, like there are so many iconic looks from this show.
Overall, because they stepped every time.
They never missed a beat, like never, absolutely never missed a beat.
Especially when their house was just forming too. Like they really when it was just them two, it was just like, okay, we're gonna do our best, even though it's just the two of us doing it.
They even backed Aphrodite at one point, and Aphrodite, she is gorgeous.
She was. I was like, okay.
Literally, I don't think I've seen a person on the post that was not gorgeous.
Exactly. Like everybody came to
like
slay.
Tens
across the board.
Across the board. I remember my first time watching the show. I was just so amazed. I was like, how are all of them this pretty?
Right. How do all of them step every single episode?
Every single episode. I did not see one outfit that I did not like, to be honest.
Right.
Speaking of our favorites, what are all of our favorite looks from Pose? For me, I loved Angel's Ice Queen look from one of the balls. I believe it was the last ball of last season. And she had a little crown, and they were like throwing snow at her. And I was just like, oh
my God. Angel's looks always were always amazing. There was none of them ever looked bad.
They did not. And it's just like the nails, the hair, the icicle crown.
Right. Like
Angel just had the face. India Moore is the most gorgeous human to have ever walked this earth.
Period.
like
how?
Exactly. Like the girls, the bays, the guys, nobody is doing it like India Moore. Besides Elektra. You can't say Electra's face isn't top tier.
Because Elektra stepped every episode too. Like
Elektra says she is the blueprint. She is the moment. Like,
right.
You're gonna notice Elektra when she walks into the room.
Right, without a doubt.
Exactly. What's one of your favorite looks?
My favorite look, I don't remember the category because it was one of the most recent ones towards the end of the season. It was the one where Praytel was all up in the fuss because he was like, I don't know if I want to do this drag queen category. Like, but all the guys who did drag, they stepped in that category. They did what they needed to do. So like even Praytel looked amazing, like in drag. So I was like, I don't know what you're stressed about, baby.
Exactly. Like the hair on Praytel, I was like, you better work that wig. You better work
real. 10s across the board.
10s.
And what was really amazing about that episode, like not only just the looks, but the fact that they switched the roles and had the women judge their looks and everything.
Elektra being a judge, that was definitely something we needed to see. That is something we needed to see. Speaking of Elektra, one of my favorite ballroom looks of hers is when they did the French Renaissance theme. And she was Marie Antoinette, and she had this beautiful dress.
Right.
Like it had this gorgeous bow in the back, and it had like a little bird cage, and it was revealed. And then why did she bring a guillotine? Like that's how you know she extra. They made a guillotine. Real. They brought drama. They brought storylines. Like
right. They said okay. They literally brought off of her head to like a whole nother level.
They gave her cake and everything. They fed the girl cake. I was just like,
ooh, child, what is going on?
I was like, not the guillotine. I was like, oh my gosh, she brought the.
I
was like a creative.
She took time.
Yes.
She took a lot of time.
You could tell there was time and effort put into that. But that's not even the first time she wore a look similar to that, because I remember on the first episode, they broke into that museum and stole the costumes. And I was actually surprised that was based off of a real event.
For real?
Yeah, there were a bunch of queens and they broke into a museum. And so they eventually got caught, but the museum was so embarrassed that they were like, yeah, we're not going to press charges.
Gotcha. That makes sense. For like the time period, And then they got like Electra just at the end was just like,
yeah, she took her hand out and she said,
arrest me.
I was like, Queen? I was like, is that you? Like,
no, for real.
It was at that moment I decided I have to stand. Like,
exactly.
You can't just watch the show and not stand. Like, especially Angel. Because can we talk about her and Little Poppy? Because first of all, when they did the Shakespeare bit, I loved it, and it gave me one of my favorite gifts when she was like cries in Shakespeare. like I use that one all the time, and I just think them as Romeo and Juliet, that is so symbolic. Like,
especially because their relationship was just on like a deeper level, like yes. Even outside the ballroom, it was yes. Just like, oh my gosh,
exactly. And it was kind of symbolic because, like you mentioned earlier, they were using and abusing drugs, so that was also kind of symbolic of if they misused it, and they both unfortunately would have passed, right. Which I'm glad did not happen. And please don't let that happen this season. Thank you.
Please.
Please. We can't take it. But Angel and Lil Poppy's relationship in general, it is the sweetest thing ever. And I'm so happy she left Stan for Lil Poppy.
Right, because I was tired of Stan.
I was tired of his wife.
I was tired of his wife too, but like I felt so bad for her because at the end of the day, like she got cheated on, basically. And she shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So that was just a lot to take in.
I mean, at least he got her an apartment.
You are right. I was like, there's the perk, but also like the fact that he's cheating, but like at the same time, Angel has somewhere to stay.
Yeah. And then it's also kind of like you can tell Stan really, really cared about Angel.
Right.
But he was just not ready to accept that part of himself yet, and Angel deserved better than that. Now, on the other hand, Lil Poppy, he has been riding for her since day one.
Exactly. Like, look, like the moment he stepped inside Blanca's house,
he was like, wow. Like, I just love the way, like, he is with her. Like, when she took those pictures, when she was trying to first get into modeling.
Right.
And that guy took the dirty pictures of her. Like, you could tell he was so upset. And that was great acting on his part, by the way. So, he literally goes and beats the guy up. And I was just like, a man?
like, as he should have, because that was just so disrespectful, like on all levels. So
and it's just
Poppy did what he had.
Poppy is a man. Even though they call him Little Poppy, that's Big Poppy. Like,
exactly.
Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's because the bar is actually in hell, or if it's just like I love somebody who's like a protector. But I just love the way he is with her, and I love their entire relationship, even though it has its highs and its lows. But so does every relationship. I just think they are literally goals. Like, if I could get a Little Poppy, I would be satisfied.
Same.
Like, girl. So, speaking of houses, who is your favorite house?
Oh, guys, I'm kind of biased because I like Evangelista. Mm-hmm. So it's probably going to be Evangelista, but Wintour did step a lot. And like I gotta give it to Electra. As much as she was also a jerk throughout the show, their house always came to slay. Like they were the house to be.
House of Wintour, they gave the girls what they needed to have, especially with their introduction when they interrupted that category.
Right.
And she said, "We're here," and I was like, "That you are! Oh my gosh!"
As you should.
I was like, "This entire house is gorgeous." And then when they bagged Aphrodite, I was like,
"Ooh!"
I was like, y'all have broke my meter. I can't look at that much gorgeousness on one screen at one time."
Right, just take the trophy. Just take it.
Just take it. Just take it. It's yours. We know it's yours. Like,
because no matter what, even though like Abundance kind of fell apart, like she's like the fact that Electra was able to rebuild and just make a whole new house was like honorable in and of itself. So
yes. Because as much as I want to say the House of Evangelista is my favorite, because I really think it is. I think it's tied between them and Candy and Lily's house.
Oh, for sure, because they stepped to like,
they did.
And like I like the co-mothering that they did too.
Yes, I did like the idea of a co-mother.
Right, like that was super sweet in a way, because it's like it like symbolizes like that 2-parent household kind of thing, like,
and it's also representation for like having 2 mothers as well.
Right, it like Yes.
And I just I think that's so sweet. And I'm really interested to see what Lulu's going to do at the house now that Candy's dead.
Right, because I know that because she's grieving her friend, but now she also has to take care of a house by herself.
Yeah.
So
Lulu snatching the jewelry off of Candy, I could not deal with that. I was like, ma'am, Miss Mom,
like what? Because that really did throw me off. I was like,
that was coming out of nowhere. Like we all have that one relative that would do it. I was just like, ooh.
Right. It was just like, considering the relationship that they had when Candy was alive, Lulu was the last person I expected to do that.
Yeah.
So,
but grief does funny things to people.
True.
But then the little talk they had after when Lulu was outside and Candy's ghost visited her, I was just like, that is like such a pure friendship. And you could tell like Candy was always her protector, kind of. Because Lulu isn't just like a very mean person. So and we all know Candy's kind of mean, but like in a loving way. So we know that she was her protector, and now it's just like now that she's dead, now that she's like her guardian angel kind of. And I think that is like so sweet.
For sure. And that she's got her even though she's not physically there with them anymore.
Yes. So I just feel like all the nominations Pose gets, I feel like they all go to Billy Porter. Like I don't appreciate that. Because it's just like with scenes like that, it's like why aren't the other amazing actors and actresses on the show like getting that recognition? So that kind of brings me to our next topic of will MJ Rodriguez and the other cast members of Pose finally get their well-deserved nominations during award season?
Let's hope so.
Because
MJ Rodriguez, she helps to carry the show a lot. Like she really helps to carry the plot. Like we opened up the show basically with her.
Yeah, Blanca is the backbone of the show.
Pretty much. Like she's the even during the Mother of the Year award thing, like even Electra was saying like, hey, Blanca, like even though I got the award, Blanca is the one who comes to deliver. She's there for everybody. And
when Blanca did finally win Mother of the Year, I was like,
thank God.
But I just really feel like MJ Rodriguez deserves a nomination. Dominique deserves a nomination for being Electra. The actress who played Candy deserved multiple nominations.
No, honestly. Honestly.
Even when she went to American Horror Story, where were her nominations? Because that was amazing. I just really feel like they're shunning all of the talented trans actors that are on all of these shows.
Right, because even India Moore, she played Angel well.
She played hands down. Hell out of it.
Like I cannot see anybody else playing Angel. Period.
Exactly. And it's just like the media will be like, "Oh my God, India Moore is so gorgeous," and blah blah blah. But it's like, where are her nominations? Y'all are calling them a great actress, telling them they're gorgeous, but it's like y'all are not standing on it really. And I just really think it all goes down to a lack of diversity in award shows.
True, because even though I haven't been watching too many award shows recently, just because what's been happening. It's just even just looking at them, just looking at the commercials and everything. It's kind of just where's my melanin?
Yeah, it's where's the melanin? And it's just because I know even with one of the most recent award shows, they had maybe Andre Day and Viola Davis, and it's just okay, that's not really diversity if everybody else is cisgendered white female.
Right, everybody's amazing in their own way, and we need to recognize that. Yeah. Not just throwing oh, here's two Black people right here. We need the Asians, we need the Latinos, we need everybody. So,
and I just really feel Hollywood is doing an awful job at diversity, even though it's claiming that they're doing so great diversity. It's if y'all are still considering Zendaya and Yara Shahidi as the standards for Black women and they're half Black, y'all are not doing great
at all. Because i.e. Euphoria, great show, but
there is not a dark skinned character on that show. Not a single. It's just the beige brigade if you really look at it.
Pretty much.
I just really feel with the next season of Euphoria, I need a dark skinned character. And I think that's really another reason why I like Pose, because there is so much diversity. There's cisgendered people, there's LGBTQ, there's dark skinned people, light skinned people, Puerto Ricans, like there's everybody.
Dominicans, like
there's everybody represented because it's New York. And it's just like New York is such a melting pot. So I love that they did stay true to diversity. And I feel like Hollywood has done such an awful job at it. And I feel like that's another part of the reason why a lot of Pose is getting snubbed. Because it's like they are less likely to give Dominique Jackson one because she's a transgender woman and she's also a dark skinned woman. So it's really like that intersectionality that we talk about in MUTV. So it's like
especially because like you mentioned MUTV, it's just like it's like dark skinned Black women like they always get the shorter end of the stick with everything because like yes, also light skinned people do have their struggles in society as well, but like they get praised more than like their darker skin counterparts, which like it doesn't make sense because we're all Black women. So it's like we're all in this together. So skin tone shouldn't even be up for debate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like the main reason why Billy Porter is getting that nomination is because he's the man of the show, so to speak. And it doesn't really matter that, he's a brown to dark skinned man. It's like he's the man of the show. So it's like, yeah, let's give him one, and that way they won't complain. But it's just like you have thousands of people complaining because everybody on that show is an amazing actor and actress.
Right, like I don't remember his name, but who like the actor who plays Damon, like he does his thing, like when he's emotional, he'll give it to you, like,
and he is an amazing dancer. Oh
exactly, like it doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, Billy Porter has been acting for a long time, but it's like also like we need to give to the newer generation a chance.
Yeah, most definitely. On to our last topic. How do we think this last season of Pose will end? For me personally, I think they're going to kill off somebody important. Probably Blanca, pray tell, or if they want to throw in a shock factor, they're going to kill Ricky. But if they kill Blanca, they have to make Angel and Lil Poppy take over the house. And then I want to spin off.
I like that idea. And I never thought of that either because I was thinking like, because especially with like Blanca's condition, I didn't think somebody was necessarily going to kill her. I was thinking like, dang, she might actually die because as you saw at the end of last season, Sis was in a wheelchair. So I was like, oh dear. So like, wow, I love Blanca. Like she's probably one of my favorite characters on the show. I feel like she might go.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be Blanca, and I hate to say that because Blanca is literally the backbone of Pose, which I think that's why it's got to be her.
Right, because like now we have to see like the mayhem, but like if God forbid, if they decide to not say kill off Blanca for lack of better words, then like it might be more towards the end of the season versus in the beginning, because that was like now what do we expect?
Yeah, because it definitely would have to be at the end of the season, and it would definitely, if they let Angel and Lil Poppy take over the house, that would set them up for a spinoff like later on down the road. It wouldn't even have to necessarily be like, oh, next year, the next 2 years, like even within the next 10 years. Like that would have a great setup for it. And I'm just so happy that they know it's the final season. That way we can get a good ending versus like other shows that they got canceled and we were just left like
on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, like Moesha. It's like y'all just gonna end the series with Miles getting kidnapped?
Like, no.
And somebody's pregnant? Like,
no. One-on-one
fell off on the last season. I would like to say that was awful. And I love that show. That was awful.
It was, but like the way that they could have ended that show so much better, just gave it like just a whole nother season altogether. Because it was just like everything was just so sudden.
Yeah, like she's sleeping with Rachel. I was like, what?
Like what is going on?
What is this? What is life? Like
tragic.
Yes, I'm honestly just so upset that Pose is getting canceled. Because it's just like they have so many other shows that they could cancel because they're not good at all. So unless the showrunner was actually like, yeah, I want this to be the last season, if they just decided to cancel it, I'm very upset.
Right, because it was a really good show and it tackled so many issues because not a lot of shows today tackle racism and then the LGBTQ plus community and what they go through, which is kind of sad because you would think that we're like a progressive society in a sense that like we would get more shows. We would get more shows like that, but like the shows that they show are like kind of quirky and like kind of weird and don't really address the issue. Versus Pose is like, here's what it is, take it.
Yeah. And Pose, it was just such a groundbreaking show because there's never really just been a show where it just really showcased the LGBTQ community like that. Because I mean, yeah, now we maybe have Zendaya show Euphoria, but it's also like they didn't really suggest Rue was a bisexual or pansexual until like late in like maybe the second season, like the first season.
Maybe.
Like, yeah, because it's just you would really think there would be more shows like that. And it's just like when you really think about it, what else is there really? Because like, yeah, they like to sprinkle in a gay character every now and then in like other shows, but then there's like a billion people complaining, so then we don't see them a lot, or it's not mentioned, or like they don't have storylines about it.
Right, because they can't just throw them in. They don't really give them their own like time to shine in a way. Like they might come out and say like, oh, I'm gay or I'm bi or trans, whatever the case is, but there won't really be much discussion about it, if that makes sense. It's like they're scared. It's like they're scared to talk about it.
Because even with Modern Family, like, that was one of the few times where it's like a consistent thing that, they're gay. But it's also wasn't just like a huge thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's another show, I forgot what it was called, but there are these two women on there, and it's a really popular show too, and it's irritating me that I can't think of it right away. But it's like a lesbian couple in there, and they have 2 kids and everything. So it's like I haven't personally watched it, but like I see it, and it's just like I don't know if they really tackle this issue on the show. They're kind of just there for me, if that makes sense. They're kind of just like they're a couple and they have kids together, like just raising their kids. Like nothing along, like it doesn't give me at some point they're going to talk about the struggles of like being like 2 women being together, you know?
Yeah. And like how the world and society views them. Whereas like Pose, it tackles everything imaginable. It even like tackled how LGBTQ women, especially trans women, are killed at a alarmingly high rate, and it doesn't get media coverage. And so it's just like I really hope that with Pose ending, it sets it up for somebody else to make multiple shows that are like this.
Right. Because we definitely need to have more of those serious conversations about it, because you can't avoid it, especially with like people like if you're gonna move forward in society, then like you need to talk about these issues and basically normalize them and not make it such like a quote unquote awkward topic to talk about.
And it's just like with Pose, it inspired so many people, myself being one of them. Because I know before I started watching Pose, I was not like the most confident person. I was a little insecure and I didn't really like the way I looked. But there was just so many lessons. And as I continued to watch Pose, I saw myself grow as a person. And so I feel like it shaped a lot of my personality and it helped me live my truth, so to speak. And so I just want to thank them for making Pose and broadcasting it because I really don't know where I would be without that show.
Honestly, because I even started watching it like once quarantine started. I started watching it a little bit. I was like, okay, this is interesting because my sister was watching it at the time. So, and then we had that project for MUTV, and I decided, okay, I'm going to actually like sit down and watch the show instead of watching the middle of a whole season. So after watching it myself, I was like, wow, like this is what I needed. Like this is like the TV that like I really want to watch because it gave you, like you said, it gives you everything. Like it just covers everything.
And it's got so many life lessons. Like despite if you're in the LGBTQ community or not, there's so many lessons involved. And it's refreshing to watch.
Right.
All right. Well, that's all we have time for today. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel below for more content. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MUTV23 and check out our website, mutv.missouri.edu. This has been Alana Hayes. Thanks for watching.